Hello and welcome. In this tutorial, I'd like to explain the concepts of locales in Terraform and how to use them, how you can create a separate files for your locales. And in previous tutorials, I created a video regarding variables and values in Terraform. In this tutorial, I'd like to clarify the difference between locales and variables. So without further ado, let's get started. Throughout the last few videos, I have used an example of creating an S3 bucket in AWS, and for that I'm using Terraform. In this tutorial also, I have created a folder named Terraform S3 Locales Demo, and here I have written some piece of codes regarding provider AWS, region US East 1, profile demo AWS, and also I have defined a resource which is AWS S3 bucket, and I have given it a name. Here I'd like to define locales, which can be really useful to reduce repetition in the code. If you want to imagine locales, it's like constants in Python. However, locales is dedicated for Terraform. So let me define a couple of locales. So if I use the keyword locales, I can define a locales like region name, and I'm giving a name like US East 1. Also, I can define a profile name here, demo AWS, and also I'm defining like environment name, or we can define also project type. Here I'm defining like demo. How to reference locales is very easy. You can write locales and then the autocomplete pops up, so you can use the region name, for example, here. Also, for using the profile, you can use profile name, and here I'm replacing the project type with locales.project type. The beauty of locales is that it avoids repetition in your code. Like for example, if you have several resources and you'd like to use the same tag for those resources, like for example tag of demo, then you can use locales. Of course, it's also possible to use variables. However, variables are something like they require an input to be defined, and these values should be given to the Terraform code. In other words, variables can change, by locales, which are expressions, will stay the same throughout the Terraform execution. Here we can improve the code. Like for example, I can cut the defined locales, and then I can create a locales file, locales.tf, and I can paste it here. If I save, the errors here will be removed. So we have like our main Terraform applications, we can reference the locales, and also basically the locales are all defined here. In case you have watched my previous tutorial about variables, regarding variables you need to pass the values, and there we define both the variables. Like for example, I have a folder here. I have defined the variables here in the variables.tf file, and also the values of these variables in the variables.tf vars. However, in the locales, you just define the locales like a mapping between the key value pairs, and then you can use it throughout your program. I told you that it is similar to defining constants in Python. Like for example, you can define a couple of constants in your Python variable and you can use, and it is exactly the same. If you wanted to run the Terraform using variables, you need to pass the values to the variables, but for the locales you don't need to do that. You can just write Terraform init. Actually, I'm not in the right folder. I'm cd Terraform locales demo, then I'm initializing it. It will take a few seconds. If I write Terraform plan, I'm getting an error reference to undeclared resource. Here I have wrongly used locales. It should be local. We should notice that this is local. Although we are defining locales, it should, when we reference, we should use local. And then if I save and run again Terraform plan, I'm getting the plan of the infrastructure, which is an S3 resource. Then I'm writing Terraform apply dash dash auto approve. And if I enter, I can see that the infrastructure is getting created. If I go to the AWS console, I go to the S3, I can see the created S3 bucket here. To wrap up, in this video, I explained the concepts of locales. You can define locales in your Terraform code. The goal of locales is to reduce repetition in your code, and they are constants, variables, or constant expressions which you can define throughout your Terraform code. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you next time.